Today we'll be hearing from Gerald Weber. He's our PSC expert on fleet quality and management systems, and Katarina Bulukin. She is a senior principal engineer in machinery and MARPOL, and of course myself, Simon Adams, as your host. I think we're going to have a really great session today. And before we kick it off, let's have a quick run through the agenda again. So we'll be going and introducing the topic. Then we'll have a look at the CIC questions on ballast water management, run through some of the other PSC topics covered in the CIC campaign, and then we'll get on to our Q&A session. So remember, at any time, just click that button to submit a question, and we'll run through as many of those as we can. Let's get on with our first presentation, and I hand over to you, Gerald.
Thank you, Simon. The PSC CIC inspection campaign this year is running on ballast water management. Last year it was on MLC, and the next year it will be on cargo securing, also an interesting topic. And as usual, the corresponding initiative comes from the Paris MoU and the Tokyo MoU. So this year on ballast water management, both MoUs created the corresponding questionnaire, which is illustrated here on the right side. But there was an official press release on 1st of August this year in order to inform about the background and also the details. And as usual, this campaign is running from 1st September to the 30th of November this year. Other MoUs, nearly all of them, will join this campaign. So you will also perhaps realize that your ship went outside of the Paris and Tokyo MoU, for example, in the American region or in Africa, may be subject also of this CIC corresponding checklist. So, and with this, we will move on to have the right topic on the PSC inspection. We have created a good tool in our system, the so-called PSC planner, in order to have the right focus for the next PSC inspection be prepared on board. And also there is an email notification service triggered by the AIS system, so that a checklist with corresponding focus items will be generated by the system and attached to an email notification, so that if the customer wants to get this reminder, he can select and will be notified accordingly. And also the corresponding CIC questions we are looking into our session today will be part of this checklist in order to be prepared accordingly. We will have a look on this in the system. Our customers probably know in the portal Veracity Fleet Status under Vessel Services, the user can select Port State Control, will see his fleet, and some additional information about the MoU risk factor and the MoU PSC inspection window if provided by the MoU, so that on the right side, as illustrated here, the user can select either the PSC planner tool or can download the checklist for the next port directly. When selecting the tool, he can indicate a next port or a port for which a checklist shall be generated manually. And insofar it is available for most of the greatest ports in the world in order to provide corresponding checklist details. To have a quick overview on such PSC planner generated checklists, it contains ship-specific items, port-specific items for the corresponding ship's type, and also the so-called top 18, the most relevant top detainable deficiencies in our fleet of the last year will be updated each year, of course, and also now the corresponding ballast water CIC questions. That's a short excursion. PSC Planner tool, a useful help as a proactive approach for our customers to focus on the right things, be prepared for the next PSC inspection. And with this, we come to our first poll, and I would like to hand over to Simon.
Thank you, Gerald. Yes, throughout the webinar, we're going to check in and with you a couple of times and see where you're up to in terms of the CIC campaign. So we've got our first poll coming up here. If you can click on the answer that is most appropriate for you. So we're asking, is your company prepared for the upcoming CIC on ballast water management? So we've got one, we are fully prepared. We are prepared, but still have a few open questions. We still need to do some more homework, whether that's on the ship or on shore. We're uncertain of really what to do because ballast water management is a new topic for PSC inspections, or this is not applicable, or you're not aware of what your company is doing on this topic. So we're going to give you a minute or so there to respond. And we'll close up the poll in a second. There we go. We've finished that up. So there we go. I think really encouraging results there, Gerald, with well over 70% either fully prepared or only with a few open questions to sort out. What do you make of those results?
Yes, well, that's what we expected, and that's a good reason to have this information session here in order to hopefully answer all questions our customers have. And in so far, let's move on and to see what it looks in detail. Our next point on the agenda is the review of the CIC questions on ballast water management in detail. And for that, I would like to hand over to Katarina.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Katarina, and I work with technical support, giving support to vessels in operation. And we handle a lot of ballast water questions. We are now in the second stage of implementing the Ballast Water Convention. D2 became mandatory a year ago, and we are in an experience building phase, but we can see now on our fleet, I have presented here our numbers, what has been implemented on board our vessels in operation. There are different types of vessels, different type of operation profiles, and that is reflected here. But around 70% have installed D2, the treatment system. Around 20% are only operating in national waters and have a non-applicability to the convention. Some vessels are operating with permanently filled tanks, and some vessels we are not authorized to handle the Ballast Water Convention, and we also have some few vessels with other approach. So main fleet numbers we see here is having a treatment system installed. And this inspection campaign is to promote and ensure an effective and consistent implementation of the Ballast Water Convention that it has taken place. So what have we seen of questions? I work with technical support. We have handled a lot of malfunction of ballast water system. This is new technology. FLAG has to be involved in issuing short-term certificates for accepting the vessel to operate with a contingency measure during this period. We have also seen a lot of applications for non-applicability and exemptions. Vessels trade differently, they are sold, they are bought. So, of course, this will come and we give them help to get this in place. Modifications, approval of a lot of documents related to ballast water management. So there are approvals just of ballast water treatment systems, type approvals, but also on the supporting documentation. We also have got a lot of questions lately this last year also about how to correctly entry events in the new format that the record book has. So this is typical issues we have. And after the session, you're of course welcome to ask anything. Use the date service. We are there 24/7 for any questions you might have. The questionnaire that was shown a little bit earlier is the main topic I'm going to go through now. Each question refers to a specific ballast water management regulation. There are 10 questions. 2 of them are not to be set to be like they are detainable items, but we expect these will be the focus. It might not be the only things they will look for, but we believe this will be the focus areas, and they have been very widely presented, these items, so I think most managers are prepared and have looked through them. I will now go through them one by one and just clarify what our interpretation is of them. So, going to number 1 question. Is there a valid international ballast water management certificate on board? This is all documents that we are going to talk about today are expected to be on board and to be updated and to be correct. Vessels are sold, managements are changed, but certificates is very easy to check for the port state control officers. So check the parameters that everything is correct. You have the ship name, call sign, gross tonnage. The ballast water capacity is mentioned on the certificate, and this is a number that we have seen earlier being compared to other documents. You have the same numbers shown in the ballast water management plan, in the stability booklet, and things like that. So check that you have consistent parameters on the certificate compared to other documents also. Now only D2 shall be ticked off on the certificate. The D1 should have been removed since September last year. Go through the validity date, issue date, are they endorsed properly? This is a quick review, and I expect this is done by most of you already, because this certificate is also very visible for the control officers to check. The question number 2. Is the approved ballast water management plan on board? This is also document review. It has to be on board. It has to have an approval stamp by class or flag on the cover page. There are some flags, specific requirements. Liberia, Panama flag do the approval by themselves. Check that we have, if there is a change of name or class, see that there is a class approval endorsement. It could be a manual written update with a stamp. There should also be endorsements by the, okay, we can talk about it later, sorry. Number 3, question number 3 is the ballast water management plan up to date to reflect the applicable requirements to manage ballast water as required by the convention? Here we have got also feedback from our customers that they have encountered that there are different listings of the ballast water tanks. After modifications, this might not be very consistent. D1 exchange method should only be indicated as a contingency method and not be as an alternative method for normal use. It doesn't have to state D1. There are other contingency measures as written in the Circular 62 that you can refer to. There are some possibilities to make addendums to the Ballast Water Management Plan, and we recommend it to be included. Some flags have requirements to have these approved. And the normal addendums that we see are for the treated sewage and the challenging water quality. We also recommend strongly that you have added a description how to fill out the record book. There are some very good descriptions how to do this in the Circular 80. The question number 4 is, are officers and crew familiar with their duties in the implementation of the Ballast Water Management Plan? This is an ISM-related issue, and we expect this to be having a focus also in this inspection campaign. Is there a good training plan on board? Are there registrations of how the trainings are done? Can they present how the installation has been maintained? Is the crew familiar with the safety aspects? Do they know how to empty tanks? Do they know how to handle active substances? Or are the safety instructions there? The ISM code 63 is requiring all this to be in place. So crew familiarity is very important. Training plans. The question number 5. Is the ballast water management system approved by the administration organization as appropriate? This will be checked most probably by the port state control officers. This copy of the type approval shall also be on board. The type approvals can be issued by the flag or by an RO on behalf of flag. And it shall be valid at the time of the installation. The type approval certificate can have an expired validity now, and this is acceptable, but it has to be valid at the time of the installation. The question number 6. Is the ballast water management system operational? What will be checked by the port state control officers, we really don't know. But we expect them that they will ask the crew, can you please start the system? They need to see that the crew are confident and are well trained operating the system, that they are confident doing this. How much operational checks they will actually do, we do not know. But they will want to see records of maintenance and that they are done according then an operational maintenance plan. There has been a lot of issues of malfunction on some systems, and this will be probably a check. Is the flag notified? Is there a dispensation letter issued for this? Are the correct short-term or conditional certificates issued? CA? Is there a repair plan? These are all issues that you need to prepare to be checked. Flag notifications are really important. Some go directly. We see some flags have that the managers go directly to flag, but we are mostly as class involved in all these notifications and requests to flag. For the point or the question number 7, is the ballast water managed according to the Ballast Water Management Plan? How can this be verified by the port state control officers? We don't know, but they will definitely see that they have that the right method is used on board. There's a D2, the treatment system. Are there any special requirements to be followed according to the operational manual that is described? Holding times of ballast water in the tanks as required by the type approval certificate. All these things has to be recorded in the ballast water record book, so they might check there to have to see that it's done according to the procedures. The bypass of the ballast water management system is not allowed and shall give an alarm. They might ask you to show the automatic log alarm file and see that it has the right entries done in the record book as well. So they will always compare, ask for logs, check records. And the bypass should, under no special should not be used unless it's very special conditions. So challenging water could be one of them, but recording is very essential. If these are not what the alarms are not reflected in the record book, this could be something that they will comment on. Question number 8. Is the ballast water record book properly filled out, including all exemption is granted, if granted? This form has been in use, shall be in use since 1st of February this year. And this is not a detainable item, we believe, but we have seen this has been commented earlier in port state controls. So get familiarized with the codes from A to H, how they're going to be used. There are very good examples in the Circular 80, how to do these entries for common events. So read it through, add it into the Ballast Water Management Plan, if that is making it easier to the crew to use. So this is something that has to be in place, and I think most vessel managers have been informed about this. We have issued newsletters and so on and so forth. From 1st of October, ships shall have a declaration of that they can use the electronic record book. We have seen some vessels that have this in place already. They're using it before the date, but if you're using it, have this declaration in place. Also, the record book shall be on board for traceability. They need to be on board 2 years after the last entry has been made, and also after that, a company shall have a control for a further 3 years. So see that you have the record books stored properly on board. Question number 9. Is the crew managing the ballast water sediments in accordance to the Ballast Water Management Plan? Each plan shall have a section for managing the ballast water sediments. And disposal shall be done according the plan, how it's done, and this is something that they will also check. The removal of the sediments is to be entered in the record book again. All these events has to be recorded. So see how it should be done. It should all be stated in the management plan, be clear for everyone how to do this. Any safety considerations to be taken if the tank entry is requiring, some extra precautions should also be mentioned. So this is something that has to be written in the plan and followed and recorded. We will have now the last question, number 10, from this list, from the questionnaire. If an exemption has been granted, are the conditions of the exemption implemented? There are some exemptions and that can be given. We're not talking about the non-applicability, but exemptions here. And that is usually when the vessel is trading internationally between specified ports without a ballast water management system, and also single international voyages. And flag state and coastal state authorities has to be contacted and agree on these exemptions. So these shall also be on board for these cases to be visible for the inspectors. It should also be clear that they are effective for not more than 5 years, usually these exemptions. And they should also normally be followed by this risk analysis based on the IMO guidelines. So anything you have of exemptions, please document it well. These are the 10 issues. We will now have a little poll. So I will hand over to you, Simon.
Thanks, Katarina. Yeah, once again, we're checking in to see what your experiences are or what you are looking at based on what you know of the CIC campaign. So we'd once again, just please click the button as it pops up. And we're asking where you see the most urgent need for action, whether that might be on board or ashore. So we've got our options here: testing the ballast water management system, ensuring that the ballast water record book is filled out correctly in the new format. Crew training is most important, that all your documents are updated, the capacities, the use of tax, and etc. Or this is not applicable, or you're not sure what the most urgent action might be. So we'll let that run for a second, and then we'll take the pulse of you of our attendees. Going to close on that poll in a minute. Thank you all for voting. That's fantastic. So it seems like we have a couple of clear standouts there, Katarina, but the one that really pops out to the eye is of course crew training. So what can we do really with crew training, or what can we advise our customers who are a bit concerned about the crew training that they've got in terms of ballast water management systems?
I think they just need to, all the vessel managers have to ensure, maybe have an extra round, test out system, see that which crew members are supposed to be able to handle this, to see that they have documented training in place, and maybe have an extra round of training. ISM is a hot topic at the moment. So training plans have to be in place, documented, and visible also then for the port state control officers. But I think the crew members will probably be asked to show how to do. It's a practical approach now. It's more operational, we have seen lately. So they have to have the confidence and the support from the management to have enough time for training in this aspect. So that is, but
Training. Yep.
Training. It's important.
It's important. I will just take one extra second here to let people know who might have joined after the introduction. Yes, you will be getting all of the slides, and we will offer a recording, the recording of this presentation. So you'll get all of that in the day or so after the webinar closes. So no worries about that. We always provide all of our material free to you and send it to everybody who's signed up for the webinar. So
okay.
Yes, let's have a look to the next point on the agenda. Other PSC topics before we come to the question and answers. But before moving on, I would like to point out, as we were just looking into the familiarization and the training matter, that each finding on ballast water management considered as operational can also be subject of an ISM failure on the system, and that could finally be related as a detainable deficiency requiring an additional audit on board. So this is an important point that I would like to stress a little bit more, that the relation to ISM is an important issue, and all operational issues will therefore be considered. Beside of the usual PSC activity and the CIC questions, we will have other topics, for example, here on the Tokyo MoU, related to the test of the emergency generator. That was issued as a safety bulletin already last year. So this is an ongoing activity. And we had several issues, and the typical finding as shown here above is emergency generator unable to supply power to emergency switchboard. We therefore issued also a technical newsletter summarizing the essentials, and also notified our surveyors in order to more focus on the blackout testing during the periodical surveys. So an important issue since last year already in Tokyo MoU. We have some additional activities besides some unannounced campaigns locally. For example, we had in the past in Paris MoU on the ACTIS and also on the galley fire safety. But at the moment in China, the MSA is focusing on machinery and electrical systems. So there was also a checklist created with some additional requirements and how to ensure compliance. And for the other, the background and the detailed information are all summarized in the technical and regulatory newsletter on our website. Furthermore, we have in China, they announced a stricter monitor of ship when detained twice within 1 year. They have a targeting scheme and following this. So it's an ongoing and challenging situation for our customers. And also we are, of course, interested on all this. The US Coast Guard is following their enhanced examination program. And one topic, for example, is the engine room fire safety and the test of quick closing valves, just to name a few of them. So we have other topics running, and the summary of the resources we have available, starting from the left, the DNV website on PSC, giving good overview with a lot of details and downloads, videos, links, and contact information. The PSC planner introduced on the beginning for creating the corresponding preparation checklist, useful tool from our point of view in order to be prepared for the next PSC inspection. But also continuing with the technical and regulatory newsletter with a lot of detailed information and recordings of the past. And last but not least, with PSC training we offer if our customers would like to choose one on a specific topic. That's it from my point of view so far. We can come to the question and answers as the last point on our agenda.
So we've raced through that one, but it's a fantastic because we've got a lot of question and answer questions from all of you. Right now we're going to bring in all of our experts. So we're bringing in Christian Mines, our head of section for statutory support, and Michael Lehmann, he's our head of section for environmental technologies. So now we're going to run through some of your questions. We've got a lot, but you can still keep popping those into the chat. Just click on the button as we indicated, and we'll take a lot because we've got a good chunk of time today. So let's kick it off with hopefully an easy one. If a customer's vessel has already had a PSC inspection with where they've performed the CIC, let's say under the Paris MoU, will the vessel be required to go through the CIC in other jurisdictions, so other MoUs, will they within this time period, or is it required only once?
Well, usually within one MoU, it will be monitored and it will not be subject of the next PSC inspection if done already now on the first inspection. So within one MoU, it will be usually done once. And if compliance is ensured, of course, the matter is gone. But if some critical issues were found, of course, there is reason to focus on and to do some re-inspection activity on this, of course.
So let's, I'm trying to group these up. Forgive me if we jump around a little bit, but let's try and look at some of the questions we've had around the Ballast Water Management Plan. A question here, can we add the detailed contingency procedures as an appendix to the Ballast Water Management Plan? And are these extra appendices required to be approved by class?
Yes. Oh, sorry, Michael.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. Maybe I can answer this one. Yes, they're both options are possible. So both the contingency measures as well as procedures for treating or handling challenging water qualities, they can be either integrated in the Ballast Water Management Plan itself, or they can be a separate appendix that is then added to the Ballast Water Management Plan. There, as mentioned by Katarina, there are some flags that do require approval of these appendices with contingency procedures or challenging water quality procedures, mainly Singapore and the Netherlands, but others are silent on this. Generally, we would recommend that you submit these appendices for approval. I think it's always an advantage if the port state control sees that an appendix to the Ballast Water Management Plan has a stamp and has been approved by an RO.
Thanks for that. Another follow-up on that one. Can we add sewage and grey water handling procedures? Should these be added in the SMS or in the Ballast Water Management Plan only?
Again, if the question is about the temporary storage of treated sewage or grey water in ballast tanks, yes, with the latest IMO circular on that, that circular recommends that this is being addressed in the Ballast Water Management Plan. Again, that can be as integrated in the existing Ballast Water Management Plan by making a revision to this Ballast Management Plan, or this can be a separate appendix, an annex to the Ballast Water Management Plan, but it should be handled now in the Ballast Water Management Plan itself.
Here's a question, will there be an update to the DNV Ballast Water Management Plan template?
Yes, I continue to answer on that one. This, we have already made an update. So we have on our website available a Word template, which includes contingency measures, also includes the challenging water quality procedures, and also includes the temporary storage grey water and treated sewage. That is also integrated in our ballast water management plan generator. So we also have these generators, these plan generators, which basically are an online version of the plan, which helps you to create a ballast water management plan by automatically pulling in some information from your vessels that we already have in our system. So both our plans and the plan generator have been updated in that regard.
Right, let's try a couple of questions around sort of vessel location and type. Could we offer any advice about exemptions from the ballast water management, I guess, testing in the event if the vessel is trading in, I guess, a reduced example? There have been a couple around of questions, the applicability of these exemptions, or what to do if a vessel is, say, an offshore vessel or FPSO where they're trading in a very limited area.
Yes, yes, I can take this. There are some exemptions if water ballasting and deballasting is happening in the same area. So some of the shelf states then accept this as an exemption, and otherwise the flag state or the shelf state, I have to say, where you would like to ballast or deballast, give some instructions what to do or at which sea area you could do, for instance, contingency measures.
So that's also a question there. When operating coastally in national waters, can we stop the treatment system? That's a D2 is asked there.
Yeah, that is a question, of course, which is related first of all to the flag state. So to have an exemption from the flag state, and of course, if you don't want to treat the ballast water, just operating in some coastal waters, you also need to have the acceptance of the coastal state. So if you're operating in their national waters. So usually you approach them with the exemption from your flag state, and then they will give instruction.
So that's another one there. Another question related to that. If you're operating not more than 200 nautical miles from coast, but more than 50 nautical miles, is it possible to perform a tank flushing there? What kind of approvals do you need, or is that allowed?
That is kind of special area where you would like to maybe flush the sediments. Of course, there are certain regulations where you can do that outside the real national waters, but in any case, if you want to not do treatment to the ballast water, you need to have a kind of exemption, or you need to have an instruction from the next berthing port authorities. They give you the instruction, and then you should act accordingly.
So following up, let's say on specific ports here, here's a question around using the ballast water management system during operations in challenging waters, for example, at ports in India, Pakistan, or China. How to request an exception for these ports? Is there a project or initiative covering ports where it is impossible to operate the ballast water treatment system?
That's a good question. I knew that I'm not familiar with Indian activities, but there are activities in the Baltic Sea, whether to accept if, for instance, from Finland to I would say to Poland or vice versa, whether it's necessary to do treatment of the ballast water, and that is in a way has been decided that ballast water treatment needs to be carried out even in the Baltic Sea. But they have also agreed on certain areas where if this is not possible, due to there's not enough water depth for doing contingencies methods, that there are special areas where you can do that.
Thanks for that.
A small comment to that also is that the technology is developing and more systems are now being developed to handle challenging water. So there will be a technology improvement here for this aspect. We also see some issues where the salinity is too low. Some treatment system requires that level to be at a certain level. And that is the management, so the master's responsibility to see that the system can operate under those conditions they are planning to trade in. And if they're trading in areas where the salinity is too low for their treatment system, they need to upgrade. They need to do modifications, maybe select another system. So there will be a lot of things happening now for these treatment systems, I believe. I don't know, Michael, if you have any comment on their type approvals, if there are some new technologies on the way for this, but definitely there will be need for other type of filter arrangements for the intake, I assume.
Yes, there is some discussions ongoing in IMO to potentially introduce new requirements for type approval to have more challenging tests in more challenging water, which of course not necessarily helps a ship that already has installed the ballast water treatment system. And obviously it's not a simple solution to just replace your treatment system with a new one. However, there are many ways in how an existing treatment system can be operated also in challenging water qualities. I think we see now a lot of manufacturers of treatment systems are sending out information to their customers with some tips and tricks on how you can operate your system also when there is challenging water. For example, doing some manual backflushing of the filter, reducing the flow rates, etc., etc. There's also very good guidance, I would say, in the IMO guidelines for handling or for operating in challenging water qualities. So there are ways to avoid that you have to bypass your system, which should always be the last option only. So there should be made any other attempts first to make sure that you at least can treat your ballast water and that you're not bypassing the system completely, even when you're operating in challenging water qualities.
Thanks, Michael. We've got quite a few sort of detailed questions about logs and recording and where things need to be written. So maybe we could run through a few of those in sort of rapidish fire fashion, if it's possible. We've been asked, where should calibrations and maintenance of the ballast water management system be recorded?
Yes, maybe I can answer that one as well. There's obviously, there has been quite some clarity now from IMO that in terms of calibration and maintenance, you have to follow the instructions of the manufacturers of the treatment system. So consult your operational and the maintenance manual that was provided with your treatment system and make sure you implement the maintenance and calibrations as basically stated in these manuals. Good questions about the recording. Currently, there's not really any, let's say, required format for doing that. That will be included in the future in the ballast water management plan. There are discussions ongoing in IMO to include that as a requirement in the ballast management plan itself. Currently, it's not yet included. So I highly recommend that you keep some form of calibration records, similar that you do for any other equipment that needs a calibration or maintenance on board the ship. So I think it's important that you can show that you do this maintenance and calibrations, and as such, it is essential that you have some form of record for that, but there's not really any pre-described format for how to do this.
Right. If the ballast water management plan was approved before the BWMC entered into force, and they have a customer has old forms such as ballast handling log and data, is this going to be a challenge for them under the inspection campaign?
Well, I would say as a starting point, it's not a problem that the ballast water management plan was approved prior to the convention entering into force, as long as it still complies with the convention. Obviously, if it doesn't meet some of the latest requirements, it would have to be updated and would have to be reapproved. And in particular, the ballast water record book now that we have now the requirements since last year, that needs to be done according to the latest requirements.
Yeah, and maybe to add here that the latest requirements were from 1st February 2025, and then just the format has changed. So now we have not only an item number, we have a code letter and an item number. And with this code letter, it is easy to have exemptions bypassing, ballasting, deballasting to be indicated within the record book.
Here's a couple more questions along that line. If the vessel is using the ballast tank for healing or stability, does this also need to be recorded in the ballast water record book?
Yes, I think if it just pumped from one side to another for anti-healing measures, then that does not need to be recorded, as long as both are treated or untreated. You should not mix treated water with untreated water. That's in a way. Or if it's a kind of sealed tank, I would say, or a sealed device where you just have a certain amount of water, but you cannot ballast or deballast these tanks, then it doesn't need to be. So it's sealed that you cannot pump the water out. Then of course it's a closed system, and it doesn't need to be treated with a treatment system.
Thanks. We had a couple of questions about the PSC accepting exemption letters. So for both older vessels or where a vessel has an exemption letter, what do we know or what do we expect around how these will be treated by the PSC?
If you have a malfunction of the system, then of course the RO can be contacted, and the RO is issuing, with the acceptance of the flag state, a condition of authority and a short-term certificate, for instance. And then of course you have to indicate to the next berthing port that you cannot treat the ballast water system. And then of course the port authorities, in combination with the master, will decide on contingencies method, which then should be conducted in a way so that there's no problem in the port. So that is one temporary exemption. You also can have these challenging water quality. Mostly these are muddy waters, where you also need to contact the port authorities and ask how to handle this or find a solution, not to release untreated ballast water into the port or into some rivers. And it might be worth saying that low temperature or fresh water is not seen as challenging water quality in a way. So that's with regard to the electrolysis systems, which are not working in fresh water. So you have to think about how you, whether you have a tank with salinated water in a way to make the ballast water treatment system to work.
Thanks.
Can I just comment on the documentation? Any exemption, if you have like a single voyage or you have an agreement between two ports that you trade there and you have a flag involved, these documents need to be on board. And they need to be consistent with what is also written on the certificate. So if certain ports are mentioned in an exemption letter, that is also to be reflected in the other documents submitted. So keeping the documents that you have received when you start this application for an exemption has to be on board, and they have to be consistent. That's really, really important.
Thanks for that, Katarina. And as it was the one of the primary concerns expressed by our attendees today. I think we can close up with the issue of crew training. What do I guess we have to do, and what is our advice on what should be done in terms of making sure that the crew are aware of how to work with the ballast water treatment systems and the reporting functions that they need to, the reports that they need to provide. And once maybe a little addendum to this, is this something that should be done vessel by vessel, or is it acceptable that this could be done individually and then sort of distributed as a guidance on the fleet? What's our advice? What do we think are the top things that we need to make sure or that our customers should be being aware of in terms of crew training? I'll leave that one open to everybody.
Yeah, good question, of course. Crew training. Anyway, I think they need to, the crew or the dedicated crew who's operating the ballast water treatment system should really be familiar with when PSC is asking for instance, whether it can take samples or something, then they should be able to show it. So a kind of dry run for such inspections is highly recommended, that masters are doing kind of check whether they can survive these 10 questions from the concentrated inspection campaign. I think that would be the first thing. And whenever they see there are some, maybe they're unsure or things are not happening, or if they have questions, they can of course contact us, as long as we are the classification of the vessel, and then we will support via our tool date. So that is my at least my recommendation. I don't know who else has some idea.
Well, usually during PSC inspections, if some familiarization issues will be found, they will be addressed accordingly. That means they can either open a PSC finding on additional training, or require on a more detailed action in the assistance of the company to the vessel, or whatever is found. It is then a subject of an ISM failure, and depending on the situation, it might have an additional training or an additional audit to show what kind of the finding was in detail and how urgent it is, whether it needs to be done prior to departure or within the next 2 weeks or 3 months, depending on the action needed. So it will usually be addressed if some issues will be found.
Thanks for that. But of course, what we want to avoid that if all possible. So as Christian said, please get in touch with DNV if we're your class and you've got concerns about the crew training. I'm sure we can work to support you on that one. So we've now arrived at the end of today's webinar. I'd like to thank you to the presenters and our experts for all of their insights on this important topic. So we want to make sure that we minimize any findings or any troubles with this inspection campaign for you. And I'm sure that the presentation has helped our attendees deepen their understanding. As we said right at the start, the webinar has been recorded. We'll be emailing you a link where you can get that webinar and review it or download it, and also all of the slides from our presenters. We have all of our DNV Maritime webinars as well available online in the days after, whether it's on this topic or many others, and we encourage you to grab those and check them out as you see fit. Once again, thank you all for attending. Thanks to our experts. Take care, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Goodbye.